Well, Harley-Davidson has had less than a stellar year in 2024, but can they actually come back in 2025 bigger and better than ever? Well, I think there are three specific things that they really need to do right off the rip. If they want to have a successful 2025, I believe they have to do these things. And I'm also going to talk about some of the things that I believe they're going to do that will inevitably hurt them if they actually go through with this stuff. So I'm going to give you my opinion. I know you guys are feel very strongly about this like I do. Whatever your opinion is, leave it after the video. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, let me start with one of the things I believe they could do and almost bring instant success to the motor company here in the United States. And that is introducing the X440 series or a variant of it to the US market. Now you got to remember, even though, in India this has been a huge success, they're actually working with Hero, which is a group in India that I think it's actually the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in India. They make not only the X440 for Harley, but now they're making their own version of the X440 because it's been such a super popular success. I talked about this a couple months ago, how I believe this bike could change the fortune of Harley. And since Harley and Hero are making a new motorcycle, I don't know if they're going to go a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I have no idea what they're doing there, but they're definitely working on a new bike. Why not introduce that to the United States as well? Remember, a lot of newer riders, they're not looking for big baggers to go across the United States with. They also don't have deep pockets like, maybe my dad or my grandfather did. You could actually afford a Harley Davidson. They've always been kind of a premium, I guess, brand, at the end of the day, but you know what I'm saying. They've always been kind of expensive, but still you need a motorcycle in your lineup that a lot more people can afford. And I think the X440, or again, a version of it, could be something that could get a lot of younger riders in that don't have $30,000, $40,000 on a big bagger, but can still get into the brand. Because that's one thing that Harley Davidson will always have going for it. And even though younger people aren't as attached to it, once you come into the Harley Davidson brand, you start meeting some of the riders, you start going to some of the events, you know as well as I do, everything you own starts becoming Harley Davidson. So it is a brand that maybe not a lot of people are attached to now, but if you can get them in the door with a reasonably priced motorcycle, maybe even one that you're losing a little money on. I know that goes against the status quo, but there are situations where you could do that and it could still be profitable in the end. I know they're not going to lose money on motorcycles. I fully understand that. The point I'm trying to get across is that they got to bring in a motorcycle that is under 10 grand, maybe under 8 grand, maybe around 6 or 7 grand. Now you're getting a lot more people through the door to buy one of your bikes and buy into the brand, because that's the strongest thing they have for them. It's Harley Davidson. Everybody knows the name. Just like Disney World and Walmart, Harley Davidson is one of those Americana type of companies that if they don't get people into the brand, they're losing out, because people will buy in. You just got to get them in the door. And hey, $30,000 motorcycles are not necessarily the best way to do that for people that have student loans and everything else going on. I hate to kick this point in the ground, but just one more thing. You know your core group of riders. They're passing on, right? They're retiring, okay? You got to get younger people in. I'll leave it there. But that's one of the biggest things I think Harley Davidson has to do in this upcoming year. Give us a cheaper motorcycle and also use your brand to your advantage, right? When you get people in, that's one of the best things Harley has going for them. So one confirmation I got between the time I originally shot this video to now is the fact that they're raising the price of the bikes $2,000. I don't like this idea at all. I think after a 2024 like they had, keeping those prices lower, to me, it just made more sense. Now, since I originally shot this video, we've seen, yes, they're going to raise them $2,000. Yeah, we have some really crazy color options, some custom paint stuff that's coming that I'm pretty excited to see in person, to be quite honest with you. But I was also thinking maybe, just maybe, they're raising the price of the bikes because of the 24 inventory. So while I thought initially, yeah, this $2,000 upcharge is not a great idea, now I think, just a guesstimation of course, but now I think I know why they're actually doing this. It's really going to help their sales team out to sell some of those 24 models. Remember last year we were talking about this, how a lot of dealers had extra inventory that they couldn't move. So you had dealerships full of motorcycles and the sales just weren't keeping up with the demand, and so essentially they have a lot of bikes that they're not selling. So maybe because a lot of those bikes are 24s, they raise the price on the 25s. People are going to be less inclined to buy those, plus salespeople at Harley are going to have an incentive. Hey, you don't want to spend the extra $2,000 on this bike? Well, we have the 24s right here that are $2,000 off right off the rip. Maybe they run some kind of rebates on those bikes as well in order to catch the inventory back up. Now here's another area that I don't think Harley is doing a great job, and I think they could actually make a pretty big impact to the motor company, again, here in the United States, and that is try to sell more motorcycles to people that come through the rider course, the riding academy, right? They just celebrated 1 million riders since the inception of this program. But here's the problem, you have them on those X440 series, those smaller motorcycles. They come through the course, they get a smaller bike, they feel comfortable, they pass it, they're like, okay, great. Then they walk into the showroom and the cheapest bike you have is like $12,000. And they're like, oh, well, Honda has this, this, and this. This is where Harley Davidson not only, in my opinion, should come out with, you know, an X440 type of motorcycle, but also adding to their cruiser lineup some way to get a liquid cooled bike into the Harley brand, a bike that's $7,000-8,000, under $10,000, similar to what Indian does with their Scout 60 series, a smaller series. It doesn't even have to be new Sportsters, right? They could rename it something else, right? But it could still have that same look like a traditional tough looking cruiser, but they come in at a much cheaper price. And if you make them liquid cooled, of course, that's going to give you the ability to get more horsepower into these motorcycles on a smaller frame. So maybe you have some things there. Now, there's a balancing act there, right? If you have a smaller, lower displacement engine, you're catering to typically new riders. So you don't want them to feel necessarily uncomfortable, but you just want to give those riders coming through the academy something more than an X440, right? Something, a traditional cruiser, right? Something that draws them in and they're like, oh man, this looks like a traditional Harley, but it's only $8,000, brand new. That's freaking amazing. And not only that, not only just the sticker price, but some of those extra fees that you pay at Harley Davidson. This is another one. You know, you're talking about $2,000 essentially on top of every new motorcycle. This is not exclusive to Harley Davidson, but it is one of those things. If you saw them like slash the price in half for destination and docking fees and this fee and that fee and, you know, PDIs and all this kind of stuff, maybe that would help them. Kind of a small thing, but I think getting another motorcycle for those riding academy motorcyclists, right? Something they can walk into the door whenever they finish that class and boom, pick out a motorcycle that's within a reasonable price for new riders, I think would be huge. And then the last thing, the new Street Glide Ultra. So I'm pretty excited about this motorcycle. I think it's going to be marketed, in my opinion, as like the lightest weight, heavyweight cruiser in a way, right? Because they're going to be able to drop the weight off this thing. The traditional fans and coolers, I think, are going away in the lower, so you're going to have extra storage there, which is kind of cool. Different tour pack, different brakes. But another thing I believe Harley will do this coming year, and maybe this is part of the $2,000 upcharge, is a new suspension. Inverted front forks and a new rear suspension. Öhlins has already confirmed this. I believe these may be coming on the new motorcycles. And if you've ever ridden a Challenger or a Pursuit, you know those inverted front forks and that suspension setup is just crazy good. They do something like that, well, maybe your $2,000 markup actually is worth something. That could be exciting for the brand as well. But that's just my opinion. Of course, I want to hear yours after the video. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think. What can Harley do to rebound in 2025? Will they have a stellar year? Or if there's something that you totally disagree with in this video, let me know that as well. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, holding down.